You're watching News 10, where your local news begins now. Your connection in Southern Oregon and Northern California. This is News 10 at 6.
Good evening, I'm Rick Tillery.
I'm Trish Close. Thanks for joining us tonight. After months of debate, the Supreme Court makes a decision on the Affordable Care Act.
The court is upholding the controversial health law. That decision may play a big part in the election this year.
Right. News 10 national correspondent Danielle Nottingham is live in Washington, D.C. with tonight's top story at 6.
The Supreme Court's ruling can be seen as a campaign victory for President Obama, but Republicans are also using the High Court's decision today to rally voters this fall. Supporters of President Obama's health care reform law celebrated outside the Supreme Court.
Obamacare is here to stay!
In a 5-4 vote, the justices ruled nearly all of the Affordable Care Act is constitutional.
The highest court in the land has now spoken. We will continue to implement this law, and we'll work together to improve on it where we can.
Citing Congress's power to tax, conservative Chief Justice John Roberts joined the court's 4 liberal justices in upholding the individual mandate, the part of the law that requires every American to buy health insurance.
The court, validated a law that was clearly constitutional, so I'm proud to be an American today.
The justices did limit the law's expansion of insurance for the poor, ruling that the federal government cannot withhold a state's Medicaid funding if it does not participate.
Down with tyranny!
Republicans are already using the ruling to fire up supporters.
What the court did not do on its last day in session, I will do on my first day if elected President of the United States. And that is, I will act to repeal Obamacare.
By 2014, the law is supposed to bring affordable coverage to 50 million uninsured Americans.
It's not going to decrease cost, it's going to decrease access, and it's really not going to enhance quality.
House Republicans are promising a repeal vote when they return from a July 4th break. Now that the law stands, most Americans will be required to buy health insurance or pay a penalty by 2014. The pressure is now also on states to set up health care markets or the so-called exchanges by 2014, or the federal government steps in and runs them. Live at the Supreme Court, Danielle Nottingham, now back to you.
Locally, people on both sides just waiting to see what's next.
News 10's Caitlin Conrad continues our total coverage live from Medford.
Great, Trish. I'm here at Providence Medical Center, where professionals say they're still evaluating how the new health care law is going to affect them and their patients. Now, community health clinics say it's going to be difficult to predict the decision and the impact on the services they provide. Community Health Clinic in Medford says it's the patients who will feel the biggest change, especially ones like Heidi Stewart, who's currently living without health insurance.
And they were able to help me with financial aid for medications, for the scan, for the actual procedure, and I'm just so thankful. And now I'm feeling well and I can get back to work.
Providence Medical Center wasn't able to speak with News 10 in person, but they did issue a statement about how the new law would affect it, saying, while this is a landmark court decision, our work to improve the delivery of care is already underway in Oregon and Medford. We continue to focus on making sure everyone in our local community has access to quality, affordable health care. Now, when I spoke with the executive director of Community Health Clinic here in Medford, Peggy Crowley, she said that the Supreme Court decision is just one step. It's really going to be up to Oregon lawmakers to decide how health care is going to work in our state. Covering your news live in Medford, Caitlin Conrad, News 10.
It is now up to each individual state to decide how to follow the law. Oregon started working on health care reform even before President Barack Obama's 2010 initiative. But 16% of the population is still uninsured here. Governor Kitzhaber and state lawmakers are reacting to the decision.
I'm delighted by the Supreme Court's decision to uphold the Obama administration's approach to health care reform. It was an incredibly bold and courageous political accomplishment that the president took on and apparently has succeeded at. And I think that the reason that the federal government, the Obama administration, was so willing to engage in this partnership with Oregon is that our coordinated care organizations, our health care reform effort, essentially embodies the key elements of the Affordable Care Act.
This needs to be replaced. and it needs to be repealed, and I support repeal and replacement. I oppose this law from the beginning because I don't think it's going to do the job to reduce the cost of health insurance.
Meanwhile, Oregon Senator Jeff Merkley sent out a statement saying, "I look forward to working with Governor Kitzhaber and other Oregon policymakers to put in place these important reforms for all Oregonians," end quote. From Senator Wyden, the Supreme Court, this is a quote, "The Supreme Court affirmed today that health insurance is not just for the healthy and wealthy, and that denying coverage to those who need it most has no place in the United States," end quote.
Meanwhile, Senator Barbara Boxer from California also issued a statement today on the Affordable Care Act decision. Her message, Supreme Court's ruling is a victory for America's families who deserve affordable health care. The state set to receive $15 billion a year to cover health care costs. Hotly debated plan years in the making.
Tonight, News 10 correspondent Jennifer Gilbert looks at what led to today's ruling.
It's February 2009. With the country facing an economic crisis, President Obama unveils the first budget of his presidency, making health reform a top priority. His goal? Health insurance for the roughly 45 million Americans who don't have it.
It's a step that will not only make families healthier and companies more competitive, but over the long term, it will also help us bring down our deficit.
Republicans lash out, calling it a government takeover of the healthcare system.
The era of big government is back, and Democrats are asking you to pay for it.
With Congress in recess, the issue divides America and sets off a summer of discontent.
This is America. It's a power play, and we should be angry about it.
The Tea Party movement gains momentum, hosting town hall meetings across the country where thousands speak out against reform.
We don't need our government doing anything for us. Thank you very much.
After months of bickering and backroom deals, a historic vote on Capitol Hill. Health reform passes in March of 2010.
The bill is passed.
Days later, President Obama signs into law the signature achievement of his presidency, the Affordable Care Act. Within hours, states across the country filed lawsuits challenging the law. Led by Florida, 26 states argue the law's central provision is unconstitutional, the so-called individual mandate. It requires almost every American to purchase health insurance by 2014 or pay a penalty.
These issues are really central to whether the federal government can really regulate anything it wants to.
In March of 2012, the Supreme Court hears 3 days of oral arguments. And the stakes only grow larger, with the Supreme Court taking the case just months before an election.
If Obamacare is not deemed constitutional, then the first 3.5 years of this president's term will have been wasted on something that has not helped the American people.
I'm Jennifer Gilbert reporting.
So what are your thoughts on the Supreme Court ruling today? Like News 10 on Facebook and join in on that conversation.
A natural gas pipeline slated to go through Oregon, even running through some parts of our area. And now you can voice your opinion on the controversial project.
Tonight, the project's owner, Pacific Connector, is holding an open house, but many people have already made up their minds. The plan for the Pacific Connector is to run a natural gas line through several Oregon counties, including Jackson.
The pipeline is coming from Coos Bay, cutting close to the outskirts of Shady Cove, and then goes underneath the river and then heads south.
When it's completed, the natural gas will flow to the terminal in Coos Bay. From there, it will be exported to Asia. That doesn't sit well with some residents.
I think most of us would rather not have a pipeline going through our front yard. But if that's necessary, that's necessary. It's not necessary to ship it to other countries. I think anything that's produced in this country should stay here.
The project has been a source of debate for years. The plan was first approved in 2008. Within months, the Shady Cove City Council passed a resolution opposing it.
We don't want this pipeline. We've got to let somebody know that we're not happy with it.
The main concerns are safety, environmental issues, and private property rights. If you'd like to go to the Pipeline Connector meeting tonight, it is at the Rogue Regency Inn on Biddle Road. The open house started just a few minutes ago. The presentation for it starts at 7. It lasts until 8 o'clock tonight.
We had another warm, sunny day here in the Rogue Valley.
But a change is on the way. News 10 meteorologist Kevin Loss is here with a quick look at your weather.
That's right, Rick, Trish, a cloud
cover situation is developing as we speak. A little bit of shower potential out of it, not much higher chance for rain coming our way this weekend. Take a look at the weather computer. You can see that system moving into the region. The cold front itself draped right across the coastline at this point. A lot of cool air flowing in the back side of it, but there isn't a lot of moisture out there. In fact, we've only had reports of about 1/100th or 2/100ths of an inch up toward Coos Bay and North Bend, although it looks like a lot of rainwater and the moisture on the radar. The bulk of this is in the mid to upper layers of the atmosphere. We are calling, however, for increasing clouds tonight with a slim chance at a shower or two, heaviest along the coastline, partly to mostly cloudy skies at least tomorrow morning, and a continued chance for a shower or afternoon thunderstorm, but again, the chance very small. Talk more about that and the rest of the details of your weather in a few minutes. Now back to the studio.
We're following breaking news tonight in Northern California. Crews are fighting a wildfire off McAdams Creek Road in Fort Jones. News 10 has confirmed the so-called Oak Fire is about 100 acres. Right now, 4 tankers, 2 helicopters, 3 bulldozers, 60 engines, and crews from Siskiyou, Humboldt, and Shasta counties are fighting the flames. Up to 8 structures are in the fire's path, including at least 4 homes. One couple has evacuated voluntarily. We're continuing to follow the story. We'll bring you updates as they become available.
Struggling counties mean Oregon state troopers are being stretched thin. Josephine County was the first forced to release prisoners after losing timber funds and failing to pass a tax levy. Now Lane County is doing the same. It released 96 inmates this week. That is putting extra stress on Southern Oregon State Police Unit, which is already stretched thin, helping cover crimes in our area. Oregon State Police troopers say they are stretched for staffing.
Calls for service. Responding to domestic violence situations, responding to any type of call for service that the sheriff's office patrol deputies would respond to. If it's a priority 1 or priority 2 call, and they don't have anybody, we've offered up to do our best to fill that gap for them and bridge that gap.
Oregon State Police's primary focus is supposed to be highway safety. However, that takes a backseat when troopers answer sheriff's calls.
Firefighters from 4 different agencies trained today, and the focus, hazardous materials. Today's scenario, a car accident with a passenger trapped in a burning vehicle. Other car involved carrying hazardous materials. Trainers say situations like this don't happen very often, so it takes training like today's to keep firefighters on their toes.
It's important. It's one of those things that we run into not on a daily basis, but when we do, it's a real potential dangerous issue. So it's one of those high risk, low frequency events that we need to keep the guys up on.
Agencies involved included Fire District 3, Medford Fire, Fire District 5, and Jacksonville Fire.
Still to come on News 10 at 6, an update on the wildfire burning in Colorado.
Plus, a horse stable declared dangerous. Tonight, what owners are doing with their animals. But first, Kevin has your weather. You're watching News 10 at 6.